Hello, fellow YouTubers. I just wanted to come on and give a word of encouragement to those who are waiting on the rapture. I want you to be encouraged as I'm encouraged. I'm just going to let you know some words from the Lord that I had received, promptings from Him to go back and to read Leviticus chapter 23 and read all of it concerning the feast that He lays out for the children of Israel to keep, and also the Book of Ruth, to go back and read particularly chapter 2, verse 23, and also chapter 3. Beginning with Leviticus 23, I'm going to read to you the Feast of First Fruits. And if you read it in the Amplified Bible, you can go to Bible Gateway, you'll see that it says at verse 9, it says, "Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When you enter the land which I am giving you, and reap its harvest, you shall bring the sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the priest. He shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, so that you may be accepted. The priest shall wave it on the day after the Sabbath." So the day after the Sabbath is the first day of the week, which is a Sunday. That's why you have, in the Christian world, you have Pentecost also beginning. You have Pentecost actually always landing on a Sunday because they're counting from that date. They're counting from a Sunday that the first fruits is being brought in and waved before the Lord by the priest. They're counting from that Sunday, and they're basing it off of the scripture, verse 11. "He shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, so that you may be accepted. The priest shall wave it on the day after the Sabbath," a regular Sabbath, which is that first day of the week, which is a Sunday. In some parts of rabbinical Judaism, they begin counting what they call count of the Omer. They begin on the 15th of Nisan, which is the day after Passover. And I think the reason why they do that is because they treat the 14th of Nisan, the Passover, they treat it as a Sabbath. They treat it as if it was a Sabbath unto itself, meaning they treat it just like it was a holy day, just like it was a hallowed day, a Sabbath day, and so they begin their count. But if you're being sort of like a strict, take a strict reading of the scripture, well then it says after the Sabbath, the day after the Sabbath, and the regular Sabbath we know as Saturday, which is the seventh day, but the day after would be Sunday, which is the first day of the week. So if you're keeping in line with that, verse 12, "Now on the day when you wave the sheaf, you shall offer a male lamb, 1 year old, without blemish, as a burnt offering to the Lord. Its grain offering shall be 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with olive oil, an offering by fire to the Lord for a sweet and soothing aroma, with its drink offering to be poured out, 1/4 of a hin of wine." Now, the reason why I read those verses is because this is the Feast of First Fruits, meaning the first fruits of all of the harvest, from barley, wheat, your drink offering, which would be your grape harvest. And after actually the grape harvest, you would be getting then also into the olive harvest. But that's another video. But if you look at this, the Lord is asking for the children of Israel to bring in their meat offering, which is the grain offering, to bring in their oil, and to bring in their wine. So it's the first fruits of all of the harvest. It's that early fruits, the early budding of each of those items, the barley, the wheat, the wine. And that's what God is asking them to bring in, as well as the olive oil to bring in, those 4 items. Then if you go down to verse 15, this is where we get the Feast of Weeks, or as we call it in Christendom, the Feast of Pentecost. But here's something interesting. It seems everybody traditionally only counts 50 days, and then we land on the Feast of Pentecost 50 days after. But if we take a closer reading, it says, you shall count from the day after the Sabbath. This is verse 15. You shall count from the day after the Sabbath, from the day when you brought in the sheaf, tied bundle of grain of the wave offering. There shall be 7 complete Sabbaths, 7 full weeks. You shall count 50 days to the day after the 7th Sabbath. So it sounds as if God is saying in verse 16, after you've reached the 50 days, after you reach 49 days, 7 full weeks, I want you to add 50 more days to that. It says, then you shall present a new grain offering to the Lord. You shall bring in from your places 2 loaves of bread as a wave offering made from 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour. They shall be baked with leaven as first fruits to the Lord. So it sounds, if we go back again to verse 16, you shall count 50 days to the day after the 7th Sabbath. So it sounds like God is saying, count 50 more days. And you know where that's going to land you? It's going to put you right smack dab in summertime. And if you go to the Book of Ruth and you read chapter 2, especially all the way down to verse 23, and then go into chapter 3, you'll see that Ruth not only worked the entire barley harvest, because that's where her and Naomi arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. She worked the entire barley harvest, and the scripture says, and she completed the wheat harvest with Boaz's maidens. So that means she was working well into the summertime. And you have to see that. So those of us who are waiting on a rapture, I'm saying that it's a picture of us waiting and working through the barley season and working through the wheat season. I'm not setting a date. What I'm saying is just count the 50 days after the 7th Sabbath. So after you've arrived at June 4th this year, 2017, add 50 days to it. See what date you come up with. That is the date of Pentecost. If you don't believe it, read it in the Amplified Bible. If you still don't believe it, I can't help you. But I hope that you would read it with faith, and ask God, is this true? Is this your count? I don't want to rely on anybody else's count. I want to rely on your count, God. Tell me if this is true. And I believe He will reveal it to you if you ask in faith, in love, in belief. Find out what date. I'm not going to tell you. You arrived there. You arrived there with the Lord. But I just led you to the scriptures that you can rely on and see. I hope you do so. And I hope that you keep oil in your lamps, and that you keep faith, and that you keep your heart burning. God bless you. Please read, please read, please read, please believe. God bless you.